Today, we're talking about a question that every new wholesaler has asked. Should I wholesale virtually or locally? But here's the thing, I'm not just going to give you a basic list of pros and cons, because the list of pros and cons is not going to be the ultimate deciding factor on which strategy you end up using. The truth is, pros and cons lists are not how we really make important decisions. No, what you need to understand is the psychology behind the two different strategies. Each strategy involves a very unique set of skills and some distinct character traits that have to be innate in order for you to be successful. So in order to make the best decision for you, you need to understand these skills and how they impact each strategy. By the end of this video, making this crucial first step decision in your wholesaling career is going to be easier than ever. If you've already been trying one strategy but it hasn't been working out, or if you're completely new and just starting out, I'm going to give you the 6 critical questions that will ultimately make your decision on which strategy is right for you crystal clear so that you can start closing more deals more consistently. Welcome to the Wholesaling Freedom channel, where I teach you exactly how I quit my 9-to-5 job and built a successful wholesaling business and how you can do it too. If you're new here, my name is Ralph and I quit the rat race to become a full-time real estate entrepreneur, and my goal on this channel is to help you do the same thing. Alright, so let's get into it. The worst way to answer anyone's question is it depends. But when it comes to the question of if you should wholesale locally or virtually, the real answer is it depends. Most people think making a checklist of pros and cons of each option is enough. But imagine trying to pick a career solely by listing the good or bad points. Or imagine picking who to marry based on a list of pros and cons. See, we've all made decisions that have had way more cons than pros, but for some reason, we're drawn to that particular option for whatever reason. When it comes to making an impactful life decision, it has to come from an understanding of yourself and what kind of person you are. And that's exactly what these 6 questions will help you do. But first, let's go over what each strategy is. Local wholesaling, or traditional wholesaling, is a strategy of wholesaling where you're transacting in your local area or market. Basically, you're finding sellers and properties within an hour to 2-hour drive from where you live. That's local wholesaling. Now, virtual wholesaling is a strategy of wholesaling where you're transacting in an area too far for you to drive to. Usually, this means wholesaling in a whole completely different state. So you're basically finding sellers and properties and transacting all completely online without stepping foot in your local market. Alright, so here are the 6 critical questions to consider in order to pick the strategy that's a good fit for you. Alright, number 1, what do you expect wholesaling to be like? The first thing to ask yourself is, what do you think wholesaling will be like? If you've never done a deal before, what are your expectations about the process of wholesaling? Now, the reason why I'm starting with this question is because it's probably the most critical. Most new wholesalers who are trying to decide if they should wholesale locally or virtually are really asking because they want to know which strategy is easier to get deals and be successful. Or they feel like their market is oversaturated, aka they're afraid of competition and they want to go where they won't have to compete for deals. Now, if you're in a market where there's no competition, there's probably a good reason for that, and you probably won't get many deals. But if you're in a market with a lot of competition, then you know for a fact that investors are transacting in that market and it is possible to get deals done. So, which strategy is easier? The answer to this question is both are hard. Both strategies are going to require discipline and consistency and continued learning. Both are going to require you to be fully committed and to not give up easily. If you're questioning which strategy to use because you're trying to choose the easier route, you're going to have to right-size your expectations. Wholesaling is just not easy. Getting your first deal is not going to be any faster or any easier because you're wholesaling out of state or because you're in your local market. If you're fully committed to this business, if you're consistent with your outreach to sellers and agents, if you're disciplined with your follow-ups, and if you put in the time to learn and continue to learn, you can expect to land your first deal within 60 to 90 days. Now, the less committed, the less consistent, the less disciplined you are, and the less time you put in learning, the longer it's going to take you. Either strategy you choose is going to require hard work. So the first question to ask yourself is, what do I expect? And then right-size those expectations. Be prepared to track your progress and track your work every single day to ensure you're putting in the correct amount of effort consistently. You need to know yourself and know what easily distracts you or knocks you off course, and set up the systems to prevent that from happening. Number 2, in what ways do you prefer to communicate and build relationships? Now, are you an introvert or an extrovert? Are you the kind of person that's going to text somebody who's sitting in the same room as you? Or are you the kind of person that calls someone who just texts you instead of texting them back? Do you make it a point to see and spend time with friends and family in person and you can just talk and hang out for hours? Or are you the kind of person who feels a connection just by FaceTiming them instead? Traditional or local wholesaling involves being belly to belly with sellers and agents, meeting in person and building rapport, sitting at the coffee table with your motivated seller and hearing them pour out their whole heart and tell you their whole story, and then they're hugging you at the end of the meeting. Now, if this makes you cringe, then virtual wholesaling may be a better option for you, because all of your conversations with the seller or with agents will happen virtually, either on the phone or on FaceTime or on Zoom. Now, conversely, if the thought of being stuck behind a computer screen or a camera all day, talking to everyone through a device without ever meeting them in person seems like a foreign idea to you, then virtual wholesaling may not be for you. This question is an important one to really think about. Alright, number 3, how do you build trust and partnerships? How easy is it for you to trust people? Are you someone that has been betrayed in past relationships, or you've been let down by friends or people in the past? Is it hard for you to make new friends or let people in? Or do you just trust people right from the start, right from the first time meeting them? Do you immediately connect and get along with everyone? Were you the kind of student that hated working in groups or having to depend on somebody else? Or did you always seem to get your highest grades in school when you were part of some kind of group project? If you're going to be virtually wholesaling, you're going to need to depend on other people who are local and in the market you choose. You're going to need boots on the ground. And this will involve you having to make connections virtually and be good at discerning character and integrity without actually meeting anyone in person. You're going to need to partner with other wholesalers and realtors and buyers who are local in that market that you're working virtually. And you're going to have to trust these people. Now, you do have contracts and joint venture agreements and NDAs that you can sign, and all of these are legal and binding, but having to sue someone who violated a contract or a JV agreement is not a fun process, and it's one you want to avoid. If you struggle with letting people in right from the start, and it takes you a while before you're comfortable trusting someone, then this characteristic can hinder and slow down your virtual wholesaling business. And so wholesaling locally may be the better option for you. Now, I'm not saying that you can't overcome these past issues or be successful virtually wholesaling if you have trouble making friends or letting people in, but what I'm saying is you have to be honest with yourself. You have to be able to pick the path of least resistance for yourself that's going to allow you to get the most traction. Alright, number 4, what is your risk tolerance? Are you a type A person where you need to evaluate every possible outcome before making an important decision? Or are you more of a type B personality where you just take action first, ignoring the risks, and then learn and adjust later? Are you more of a ready, aim, fire? Or are you more likely to ready, fire, and then aim? Considering both strategies, one is not necessarily easier or harder than the other. But statistically, virtual wholesaling has a higher contract fallout rate than if you're local. If you're virtually wholesaling, you can expect anywhere from 30 to 40% of your contracts to end up getting canceled for whatever reason. Whether there's some market nuances that you didn't know because you're not local and you ended up messing up your numbers, or some kind of fallout with the seller or inspections, and so on. Virtual wholesaling is going to require you to make an offer and secure a contract without ever stepping foot in the property. You're making offers and signing contracts based on pictures that the seller sends you or your local boots on the ground partner gets for you. So it's easy to miss certain things that can result in a higher cancellation rate. Now, when you're local and you're going to these properties in person, it's harder to miss these things. And you also get a better sense of the market, and you'll know that neighborhood A is better than neighborhood B. So don't use comps from neighborhood B, even though it might only be 1 or 2 blocks away. As a result, local wholesaling has a smaller contract fallout rate. On average, if you are local in your own backyard, you can expect a 10 to 20% contract fallout rate. Now, this statistic alone doesn't necessarily disqualify virtual wholesaling. You're just gonna have to go back to question number 1 and go into virtual wholesaling with realistic expectations. Alright, number 5, what's your learning style? Are you a visual learner or a tactical learner? Do you learn best by doing and seeing, or are you able to read and research and then internalize and memorize data and information? If you're gonna be wholesaling, whether virtually or locally, you will need to learn about your market. Everyone knows the first rule in real estate is location, location, location. So you're gonna have to have a deep understanding of your market, whether you're local or whether you're virtual. And this understanding will develop more and more over time. Local wholesaling may be a better fit for you if you're the kind of person who learns by seeing and doing, because that means that you're going to need to go out to these neighborhoods in person and see these properties in person to get a feel for the market. But if you can just read about it and get a good grasp on the market through research and pictures and talking to people, then you'll probably do all right virtual wholesaling. Local wholesalers learn by immersion, literally walking the streets and honing their eyes for deals. Now, virtual wholesalers, on the other hand, must master online research and learning. So really think about this one and choose the path that aligns with how you absorb and apply new information. All right, last question, question number 6. What are your long-term lifestyle goals? 5 years from now, where do you see yourself in your wholesaling business? What is your ultimate goal? Wholesaling is really a gateway into real estate. It's a low-risk way to make a lot of money, all while learning the ins and outs of real estate investing. It's actually a natural progression to begin wholesaling and then move on to fixing and flipping and then buying and managing properties once you've been wholesaling for some time. So in 5 years or 10 years, do you see yourself headquartered in one market, becoming a local market expert, or do you envision running a remote team and scaling across multiple states? You might be comfortable wholesaling in a market you don't live in, or maybe wholesaling in a whole different state. Would you be okay with owning and managing rental property out of state? Now, I currently own multiple rental units. Some of my rental units are local and the other ones are out of state. One is not necessarily easier than the other, and both come with their own set of challenges, but you have to know yourself and how much control you think you would need. Local wholesaling can evolve into a flipping or a buy and hold model in your region, but it's going to require building deep local roots. Now, virtual wholesaling, on the other hand, scales broadly. You could be entering new markets from anywhere. It gives you a bit of freedom that local wholesaling doesn't, because you could literally work from anywhere in the world. And you've mastered the skills needed and have the systems in place to do so. All right, so one quick caveat from these 6 critical questions. If you live in a market like Los Angeles or New York City, wholesaling may be a bit of a challenge because of the price points. So regardless of how you answer these 6 critical questions, it may still be a better option to begin wholesaling in a virtual market. Now, I'm not saying it's impossible. I know a lot of wholesalers that wholesale in New York City and Los Angeles and San Francisco, but what I am saying is these expensive markets create some really serious challenges for new wholesalers to land their first deal. Okay, once you've taken some time to really think about and answer these 6 critical questions honestly, the path forward should become very obvious. Many successful wholesalers start local and then build the confidence to scale virtually. Others dive into virtual wholesaling from day one. Alright, so here are your next steps. Number 1, review each of these 6 questions and take notes of your honest answers. Number 2, choose one strategy to focus on for the first 90 days and commit fully. Don't make any decisions about changing or shifting 2 weeks or 3 weeks after you started. No, you need at least 3 months of data before you can make any pivots. Number 3, build the core skills. Start networking online now if you're going to be virtual. Or start getting out there and driving for dollars and learning the city and the neighborhoods if you decide to do local wholesaling. Number 4, take action and track your progress. Start developing a daily and weekly schedule focused on income producing activities. Working on a logo or tweaking your CRM does not bring in deals. Talking to motivated sellers each and every day and making offers each and every week is income producing activities. Track your daily and weekly numbers and adjust based on your results. All right, guys, that's it. If you found this breakdown helpful, let me know in the comments which strategy you're going to choose. And once you start talking to sellers and you found a motivated seller, make sure to watch this video next on how to calculate your offers to sellers